Hi, I'm Gwen with Matchbook Marketing, and you are likely up to your eyeballs in information about how to open and run an independent bookstore. So thank you for being here with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about storytelling and marketing and hopefully make this feel achievable for you. So first of all, I want you to know that we at Matchbook very much believe in the power of independent bookstores and what you're doing. We believe that you all make the world a better place. So much so that we only work with independent bookstores in our marketing services, and we are so glad you're here, and we are excited to be a part of your work. So let me begin by talking a little bit about what Matchbook Marketing does. We have some four major program components to serve independent bookstores. We start with bookstores from the very beginning, establishing their logo and brand. We have a wonderful illustrator who does some pretty amazing work for folks. We do website development, especially for those independent bookstores who want to have an e-commerce portion of their sales plan. We offer email management services as well. We can either do custom emails for your store, and we also manage the email version of the Indie Next list on behalf of the American Booksellers Association. This program is free to ABA members, so we highly encourage you to take advantage of it. And then lastly, we offer a bi-monthly print newsletter. Among other things, we can do some cataloging work for you as well, or some special one-offs. But the standard print newsletter is a bi-monthly 12-page, old-fashioned newspaper. And the inner pages are filled with core content that we curate. And then the outer pages are completely curated by you and made to express your own branding and personality to your people. So that's a little bit about what Matchbook does. Now let's talk about what you can do on a daily basis to enact your own marketing practices. Marketing is storytelling, and I have up here meaningful storytelling that fits your gifts. And it fits your gifts is particularly important. There are so many opportunities for marketing, and if you pick the ones that you are not naturally good at or you dread, you're not going to do them well. So pick the things that you do feel good about, that feel like a natural extension of yourself. And then if there are activities that you want to do for marketing that don't feel as natural, and if you happen to have a staff, then that is a wonderful resource to turn to. And I encourage you to empower them to take on things like TikTok or Instagram or things that you might not feel as at home in. Booksellers also provide community services, a community service. It is important what you do. You are sharing with your friends and neighbors the great books that are coming out every day. And so embrace that role as the community guru and know that you are providing a service. And also don't be afraid of embracing your own personality. We are all unique. And if you are feeling comfortable just being who you are, people are going to respond to that. Let's begin by talking about brand. What is a brand exactly? When we think of that, most people think of a logo right off the top, which is a solid place to start because your logo is kind of the foundation of your brand. And your logo needs to be an image that can be used from everything as tiny as a social media profile to a huge sign out in front of your store. But your brand isn't just your logo. It's also the colors that you choose and the fonts that you use, even the fonts that don't appear in the logo itself. So when you do a brochure, you might have a header in your brochure and some text underneath. Those fonts need to be consistent as well because they are part of your brand. You'll see in this presentation that I am very consistent with my colors and my fonts so that even if you don't see my logo on every screen, I'm still marketing to you this entire time. So all of those things are part of your brand. But your brand isn't just about logos and colors. It's also the language. It's your mission statement and your tagline. When someone asks you why you do what you do, why did you open a bookstore, what you're telling them is your mission statement. And your tagline is a very condensed version of that mission statement. Your mission statement can be, a paragraph or 2 paragraphs. Your tagline should be 3 to 6 or 7 words at most. And it's something that you might put together with your logo. Like you could actually have it as a part of your logo, or you can split it out. But it's just an additional way to tell your community who you are and how you're unique. Since logos are the cornerstone of branding, let's talk about those a little bit. On this screen, you'll see logos that we've produced for indie bookstores all over the country, and you'll see that some are very text-centric, like Words Matter Bookstore. That one is very text-centric logo in that the words are the things that pop out mostly in that image. They are the portal to the universe. So their O is a picture of the universe with a galaxy of alphabet letters from the alphabet as their stars. You'll see in the top right, Beehive Bookshop. That logo is more of a fully realized piece of art that is going to look great on a three-dimensional sign. Our challenge with them was then to create a version of that logo that they could use when they needed to have something a little bit simpler in design. All of these designs are fine. I mean, whatever your approach is, more simple and iconic or more detailed and fully, just huge piece of art, there's no right or wrong to that. Just make sure you've got a version that you can use when you need a more simplistic version of your logo. Once you have your logo, you also want to make sure you have a style sheet. This style sheet puts together your logo, of course, but underneath that is your color palette. And it's not just the visual colors on the screen, but also what's below that, the color codes. And everybody from your web designer to your person at the print shop to your t-shirt designer is going to need those color codes to make sure that they are in line with your brand. On this style sheet too is a great place to put your fonts, your header and text fonts, so that you have all of that information right there. If you have a mission and tagline statement, this is also a really great place to put that, just so you have all of that information in one place. So I talked a minute ago about how with Beehive, we had to pull out some of the elements of their logo to give them an option when they needed something a little bit simpler. So in this image at the top right, that is the image that we used for their Facebook profile. So that B was a central piece to be able to pull out of their logo into something that could be used on its own. You'll see even on this business card at the very bottom, the B is just sitting by itself and becomes representative of the large brand. Okay, so now we have our brand and our logo and colors and fonts, and we're all ready to go with our mission. And we need to create really great photography to help us tell our story. So I have chosen this image of this ridiculously large camera to impress upon you the fact that sometimes we do need to hire a professional photographer, especially at the beginning, but then again every couple of years. And that professional photographer is going to come into your store and they're going to create a whole series of basically what's going to become your stock photos of your store. Close-ups and wide angles and inside and outside the store, things that you can use on your website and your brochures. You are going to be so happy you have this collection, and please don't overlook this very important step. But of course, we also have our phones as well, and that is going to be the most important day-to-day tool that we have to share images from our store to our customers. And we have some free editing tools at our disposal listed there in the bottom right. The next few slides, we're going to discuss basically some examples of how you can take really great bookstore pictures with your camera, with your phone. This one's from Words Matter Bookstore, and I like this one because it helps me discuss angle. So you can see on this book stack, New Book Tuesday, right? So new books come out on Tuesday. A lot of people like to share those books in images on social media. And this is just a simple book stack. The eye level image is right about the fourth book down, Send for Me by Lauren Fox. And I like that. That's where the photographer was standing, or at least that was where the camera was standing. And it allows me to see all of the spines and be able to read them very well. It gets me close up and intimate with the book stack itself. And it's just much more of an intimate picture than if I took one from further away or standing up looking down. Color is another important thing to consider when you're doing photographs. I like this combination because the orange and blue go so well together, and you have the table, but you also have that kind of brick in the background and that pot that the plant is in. All of those are those nice orange colors that complement that blue so well. And you can see too the paint chips where the paint is chipping on the table. that kind of pulls back in the gray blue look too. So it's just a really nice combination of colors that it feels very attractive and appealing. This next series of photographs is from Viewpoint Books, and their Instagram presence is definitely worth a follow. They do their New Book Tuesday as well, and they'll start with a really fun picture to pull you in from the beginning. This was taken in the summer, and they were talking about, oh, it's so hot. What are we going to do? We're going to read. And this picture of the bookstore owner, that's Beth, and I love it because it's fun and it looks like she's carefree, but she's also melting and she's got these great books, and there's just so much to enjoy about this picture. And while we're here, let me just say that it is shown again and again how much more people are engaged with photographs that feature people. So please don't be afraid of being in the camera sometimes yourself. The books are really important, but connecting with those booksellers is number one. So you'll see at the bottom of this picture, there's a bunch of dots. And that's because, of course, in the Instagram series, you can swipe to the right to see more pictures. So every Tuesday, they'll do this kind of broader picture to show the stack. And then as you swipe to the right, you can learn more about each book or each group of books. So they picked these first three, which I love because they picked books that have a similar color scheme, and they popped it on that white background, and then they pull in that pink pop of color. All of that works so well. And some of their pictures, they do this. They have a little tagline for the book itself, so you can kind of get a little bit of taste as to what it's about. But then sometimes they don't. They just like have a couple of books. These are 2 debuts. Again, they pulled these. If you look at the color complement, that nice sandy colored wall, pulling out that sandy color in both of these titles. They're grouped because they're debuts, and it's just another great photo with a little bit of variation. And then finally, this one is from an event, so that they have a scavenger hunt. Same bookseller. I love this shot because you've got so much texture in the bricks. You've got those lights behind her. They just stuck a flashlight in her hand, but the color of her jacket too, or her shirt, all this works really well together. It's a very appealing photograph. It makes me want to go to this event. And they even save space on that brick wall to be able to put the event information on directly. So love this shot. Okay, Underground Books is another one that you need to go ahead and just pause the video right now and go follow on their social media. They are very creative, both in photography and in video, and they've been building up their collection and their skill set over the last couple of years. Are so worth a follow. Every Friday is Bookface Friday, and Underground Books does a great job with Bookface Friday. They pull a book with some kind of human element on the jacket, and then they match it up with a staff person and take this photograph, and they say it has some of the best customer engagement of any campaign that they do. Really fun, gives me a laugh, makes me want to check things out, and it helps me get to know the bookseller all at once. Love this stuff. So now that we have our branding and our photography, we need to talk a little bit about videos and live streaming as well, because this has become such an increasingly important part of our marketing plan. We can do things like schedule videos and live streaming, or we can also do some spontaneous work, and both are important. Scheduled would be things like unboxing videos when a publisher sends you a new box of books. And just like you really like to open those boxes and pull out the books and see what's in there, your customers are going to want to see that too. And so when those come in, maybe you have, like on Wednesdays, we have an unboxing video every Wednesday. And it gives people, a chance to anticipate and look forward to seeing those videos come out. But then sometimes spontaneous is really great too, just when something funny is going on in the store and you want to kind of grab that and share that as well. We can share these videos and live streaming through all sorts of platforms, Facebook and Instagram Live. These are the things that we have become really comfortable with. Eventbrite, Crowdcast are great event sites that you can use. And then, of course, YouTube and TikTok as well. I want to go back now to Underground Books. You have now followed them as Instagram gurus, and you also want to follow them for their video content as well. They have a love and talent for video. They have created these really fun fantasy. You open a book and you get transported into another world, and they have a great sense of humor. And they're just fun to watch. But you may or may not be, that into creating video content. They also have a lot of videos that are karaoke. They'll take a song and they'll sing it, and but be in the bookstore holding different books or having different kind of literary fantasies. So it's really fun. They have some that are very complex and some that are very simple, and it's a great place to get some ideas and just to have a good time. Here's an example of some live stream author events. This one is with Unlikely Story, and these 3 people, obviously, we've got Jeff Kinney on the left, and he's interviewing some authors. They are all, participating remotely. You can do it this way and just have a video event. The great thing about video events is that you can then share them later, so that you not only have content to share during the event itself, but then the next day or a week later, you can go back and share it again, bringing more people into your presence and their awareness of you. And then, of course, you can just share events that you're doing live in your store too, just by having cameras there so that you can participate in the store or at home if you can't make it in. Here's another example of that. That one was trivia. This one is story time. Viewpoint Books was having story time, and they just popped up a camera so that in case you couldn't get there, you could participate from home. This one is from Fountain Bookstore. Every Friday, they have staff recommendations, and they give the camera to each staff member. They pull 2 or 3 books, and each staff member then talks about the book that they're most excited about. Each video is separate, so there are several posts on Friday, one from each bookseller, and so you're not only getting to know the great new books that are in the bookstore, but you're getting to know each staff person individually, and I really love that. And then you might know that one staff person or another has tastes more similar to you, so you might, as a viewer, curate the video content that you want to check out so that you can have book recommendations that are more catered to you. Let's talk a little now about websites. As indie bookstores, you've got several platforms available to you to support e-commerce. And I'm going to hit on the top 3, or 3 of the big ones, to kind of walk you through some of the differences. We'll start with Indie Commerce, which is managed by and run by the American Booksellers Association. You can find out more information about that at indiecommerce.org. In 2022, they relaunched Indie Commerce as Indie Commerce 2.0, and there's a lot of wonderful features to the new system. It is much more user-friendly than their old systems, and it is compliant according to the ADA. So the fonts and colors that you can choose from will be ADA compliant, and you don't have to worry about choosing those. They're already all set up for you. So you can sell books. It's all hooked up to the Ingram catalog. So a customer can look on your website for a book that even if you don't have it in stock, if it's hooked up in the Ingram catalog, if it's entered there, then they can purchase that book that way. Bookshop is another option for you. Bookshop is free. Indie Commerce is not free. Bookshop is a really great option for a lot of booksellers, especially for those who don't want quite as much interaction with their online sales. The disadvantage of Bookshop, or it might be an advantage depending on how you want to do things, is that you can't fulfill the orders from your shelves. Bookshop will do all the order fulfillment on your behalf. Your customer does the ordering of Bookshop, Bookshop takes care of it, and you get the money from it. Indie Commerce works differently. You can fulfill those orders from your shelves. And then last is Book Manager. Book Manager has more of a parallel functionality to Indie Commerce, but the big difference there is it's hooked up to their point of sale system. So you would have to use Book Manager from your POS and your website all together. But it's another really great option, and I'll show you some examples of all 3 of these. Let's start with Indie Commerce. This is an example of an Indie Commerce 2.0 site. It's an Unlikely Story. You'll see some of those little menu items, the bestsellers, staff picks, etc. That's a feature of Indie Commerce that you can choose to have on your site or not. But it does provide a kind of a consistent look across indie bookstore platforms so that you know when you're on an indie bookstore site. And you'll see below, they've got some upcoming events highlighted. And then if you keep scrolling, then you have different book categories. that you can choose which books to show up on this front page. And then at the bottom, they have their gift merchandise, games for kids. So you can have all of these things in indie commerce. This is an example of a WordPress bookshop combination. So we developed this one for Mind Chimes. They only sell their books through Bookshop, but they wanted to have a website presence that wasn't just the Bookshop page, where they could share their events, newsletter, just more of their store personality. So we developed this in WordPress. You don't have to do it in WordPress. We just prefer that platform because it's very customizable. You don't have to. This one is WordPress. And then we pulled over, you'll see new in the Bookshop, we pulled over those jackets individually as images and then individually hyperlink those to the Bookshop page. So obviously you can't do this for the whole catalog, but it's not that hard to do. It doesn't take very long. And you can have, like, this is half a dozen. You could have 3 of these rows if you wanted to. And it just highlights those on your homepage and makes the 2 sites look more interactive. Once you click on one of those books, you're going to go over to their Mind Chimes Bookshop page. And this is more what that looks like. You'll see you can brand it at the top with your logo, and there's a slider image that you can put in, and then some language that you get to write yourself. And then down below that, if you keep scrolling, you'll see your book selections, and this is all Bookshop generated. So you can, when I say Bookshop generated, these are this is the template that you can work with. You can actually choose the categories that you want to use, and you can choose the books that show up in those categories. And this one is a book manager example. And again, a lot of the book manager sites they have a similar template. You can brand it with your colors and brand, but the functionality is about the same. So they all work similarly, but they have different benefits, pros and cons, depending on what your needs are. So if you're still with me, we have covered basic marketing techniques. We've discussed branding and logos. We've talked about photography and videos. You've got your website platform chosen. You're good to go. And you've got all this great material. And now you want to have another way to communicate that with your customers. And so let's talk about e-newsletters. So you've got a lot of different options. And when you think about e-newsletters, what you don't want to do is overload your customers. You want to give them just enough information that they are thinking about you regularly. They have plenty of opportunities to click from the e-newsletter to your website and purchase an event ticket or a book or join up with a book club. You want lots of things that they can do to interact with you. And there are a lot of options out there, including your own custom choices too. So like whatever you would produce in-house. So what I always recommend to people is that they create a master calendar. On this master calendar, you want to write down the options that you have available to you. So for example, we have the Indie Next email newsletter, which I'm going to discuss a little bit in this video because I happen to manage it on behalf of the American Booksellers Association. This one is free to ABA members. The Indie Next email is monthly, but there's a couple of other options as well that you can use to supplement the monthly email. And I would write that down. I would write down the dates, each send date, and just kind of think about what they're providing and how often and what date it's going to send out. And then take your custom email newsletter. What day of the week do you want to send that on? Do you want to do it weekly? How often are you going to do that? Put that on your calendar. And then your regional association might have an e-newsletter that you can use. There's other industry e-newsletters that are available to you. Take those and put those on this calendar, and then you can kind of pick and choose which ones you like. And while we're on the topic of the custom email newsletters, just know that Edelweiss 360 now has a platform that you can use as well to create those. So let's discuss Indie Next a little bit. So as I said, Indie Next is monthly. It's the first Thursday of the month is when it sends out. It is free to ABA members. We can put your logo in the top with your own. You can either use the phrase, use the introductory messaging that the ABA has chosen, or you can write your own messaging. So you'll see at the top, Reading Leaves. They have chosen the default message that comes with the email newsletter. But if you want to, you can highlight an event that's coming up or point out your favorite books of that edition of the newsletter. Or you can just have a regular, this is who we are kind of email or kind of messaging that never changes. The Indie Next email, all of the Indie Next books are books that are chosen and recommended by indie booksellers. And this is why I love this program so much. So when you see this email, or you might see it in print form too, Indie Next has a variety of ways to get the information out there. You'll see that each blurb is a recommendation from an indie bookseller somewhere in the country. And so you'll have a little phrase or a little review, very short review from the bookseller, and then you'll have that bookseller's name, that bookstore name, and then the city and state where they are. And I love seeing that. And I think the customers love seeing that as well, so that it builds that sense of community among independent bookstores. It's a great program. The Indie Next email has a featured title at the top with a link over to an extended author interview, 25 new releases, and then 6 new in paperback. And then at the bottom, there's always these easy unsubscribe options that people can go and just unsubscribe from the Indie Next or all of the emails within the Indie Next program. It is also mobile responsive. So the screenshot on the left is from the desktop version, and the one on the right is what it looks like on your mobile device. So I said that there are other supplementary emails that you can sign up for as well. So you can do the Indie Next monthly. This one is the Kids Next. So it's the kids version. It is bi-monthly. It never sends out on the same day as Indie Next. They always stagger them so that you never have too many emails sending out the same day. It also has a featured title with an author interview link. It has 6 picture books, 6 middle grade, and 6 young adult. And then finally, there is a reading groups email. This one goes out 5 times a year, and there are 5 categories, 6 titles per categories. These are primarily books that are recommended or thought about for like book clubs. So a lot of these are paperbacks. And this includes a holiday gift guide as well. So the last one of the year are books that they just feel are good gift-giving books. You can sign up for all 3 of these, or 1 of these, or 2 of these at our website, welovebooksellers.com. Again, all of these programs are free to you. There's also a master calendar for when all of these emails go out. So you can use that calendar from that website right there, We Love Booksellers, and put it in your master email plan. Let's talk about some custom examples as well. So these are 2 that we do for Kizzy's Books and More and Words Matter. They don't have time to send out their own cuztomized email, but they really wanted to pick books themselves that they curate for their customers. So they just send me 10, or in Kizzy's case, 20 ISBNs, and I do the rest and pull the jackets and the blurbs, and we link over to their websites. So solid choice. If you're doing it in store, here's another great example. We don't do this one. This was an unlikely story, but I love their format. It's not a difficult format, but I love the way they have creative visual interest throughout. So they've got these lovely headers. Everything links. It looks like website about us. That looks like it links down into the email, but these are links directly to their website. So you can find out more. It's always pulling you back to their website, and I love that too. The upcoming events is basically just like in that other version, like we had just then, like the book to the left and the blurb to the right. This works the same way, only the picture is a little bit larger because you have the author and the book united as one image, and basically the blurb on the right. They then vary it up a little bit, so you just keep scrolling down the email, and it's not just the same thing all the way down. Then you get to bookseller recommendations, and that's that more traditional book blurb thing on left and right. And then just the new books, you keep scrolling, and instead of having all of this information in the email, now I have a visual break. And these are 6 book jackets. There's no blurb there, but these are the ones that are coming out new. And it's more about oh, I've recognized that book. I want to learn more about it. And so you click over. Besides email newsletters, of course, you want to have print newsletters. And these are some that you can produce in-house, or you can participate in our print newsletter program, which I'm going to tell you about right now. Our print newsletter is bi-monthly. We also do book fair catalogs, just like you've seen when you grew up and you went to public school and they handed you a book fair catalog and you could fill out the form on the back. We do those as well. And we can produce these as hyperlinked digital flip books, which I'll show you in a second. So this is an old-fashioned newspaper. The typical paper is 12 pages. The outer four, pages 1 to 11 and 12, are completely branded and customized for your store. You can do staff picks, your events, your book clubs, your own letter, photographs of gift items that you want to highlight, or maybe you have a renovation in your store that you want to share. All of that is totally up to you. You just give us the content and we lay it out for you. The inner pages, there are 8 pages of titles that we curate, and it's fiction, nonfiction, kids, and YA. They're all new or forthcoming. There's about 60 titles. And those titles are chosen based on indie bookstore recommendations, what we feel like is going to sell really well for indie bookstores. And they're also co-op eligible. Not all of them, but a huge chunk of those books are co-op eligible. And if you don't know about co-ops, definitely something that you need to find out about. But in a nutshell, say HarperCollins, for example, there's an easy example. If you provide a book and a blurb of one of their new or forthcoming books in a newsletter, and you tell them, they will give you $50 credit on your next order with HarperCollins. So it's not money right off the top, but it's money through your next order with HarperCollins. And to make it easy for you, we work with a co-op filing service that will file these things on your behalf so that you can make sure you get all of those co-op dollars back that you're eligible for. So the paper pays for itself in co-op, and then we also have some publisher sponsorship as well that takes the price down right off the top. So it's a really great resource for you, and we've worked really hard to continue to make it more and more affordable, and even give you some credit back in your favor. Once you've sent us your copy, we'll edit it and check for typos. We'll do the graphic design and layout. We will have an internal revision process to make sure it looks as good as it can. And then we will have a revision process with you as well so that you can also look at it before it goes to print. For those that order the print catalog, you also have an option for a digital flip book, which has a nice little fun animated flippy motion and sound. And all of the titles are then hyperlinked to your store's website. So this kind of gives you an idea of what the inside of the newsletter looks like as well. We hope you'll join us. We're really proud of this product, and feels like it's just a really fun way to work with booksellers. We have some other options too. This is the Unlikely Story. They wanted a gift catalog specifically for their non-book gift items, and we had a good time laying that out with some images and short descriptions, especially for the holidays. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier the book catalog. This is the back page of a 4-page book catalog that had all the books and blurbs inside, and then the order form on the back that corresponds with all the books that the kids have gotten all excited about. So let's talk for a minute about just other print presence in general, because there's more than just our wonderful print newsletter. First of all, I want to tell you that Canva is your friend. I hear from booksellers all the time that use Canva on a daily basis. There is a free version, but I think the professional version is like $100 a year or something like that. So it's a very affordable option. Definitely go for the professional version. Canva can be used to edit photographs, to add text, to create those fun social media images, to promote your events. Definitely worth checking out. When you're thinking about your print presence, you want to think about the things that are in your store, those things that are static, such as signage, and changing all the time, like event materials, maybe your staff pick materials that you want to tuck into the books. So you want to think about all of those things. Always pay attention to your brand, make sure it's on brand, and have fun with it. And then, of course, all the information that goes out of your store as well. And I want to take a minute to discuss your distribution options, because you have a lot of things available to you, and some people don't know about all of them. You can, of course, do bag stuffers. You take your materials and you stick it in the bag with every sale. You put it on every seat in an event. You hand it out physically yourself. For those of you who are lucky enough to have a bulk mail list, that's a fantastic option. Of course, that's wonderful because these are people who have signed up for your bulk mail list. And so they're already, curated to be your regular customer base. For those of you who may not have a bulk mail list or who just have a different need, EDDM, or Every Door Direct Mail, is a program that's offered by the post office, and you can go to the USPS site and type in, look up the EDDM, and then they have an interactive map. And you can click on different sub-zip codes within your zip code area and mail to every residence within that particular zip code. So it's a wonderful way, especially if you're new, to let the community know that you're there so that everybody in the neighborhood sees your print piece. It's also, a cheaper postage option too than just your regular mail. And then inserts. So you can also insert your materials into your local newspaper. And we have several stores who do that with our print newsletter as well. So we'll send a big batch to the newspaper company, their local paper, and they'll actually insert them in their paper and then distribute them in their normal distribution process, which is great because you're already curating automatically to people who like to read newsprint. So you have readers. You have that readers as your audience. Don't forget your local publications, of course. You can pay for an ad, but if you can, pull off a news story, that's free coverage and wonderful because you are providing a community service. So make sure that your newspaper people know the events and services that you offer. You might also consider a regular column. Be that guru that I talked about earlier. Be that expert. The new books that are coming out, so maybe have a column in your local paper just to highlight the new books that you're most excited about. And then, of course, it's not print as in like print on paper, but collectible merchandise, being like the physical branding materials that you want to share with people. Here's some examples of collectible merchandise. These are bookmarks. These are free at the counter. We produce these for Fountain Bookstore, and it's just a variety of personalities. You can collect them. On the back, it has the bookstore information, but it's largely blank so that you can write down book recommendations as your or ideas that you want to come back to later walking around the store.
Hey guys, I'm here to interrupt my own message to let you know I was about to promote a company that I have since discovered does not share my values. They had some very troubling business practices and political messages that I just really disagreed with. So I'm going to take this opportunity to just say vet your vendors and feel free to change your vendors to companies that you share values with more closely when you discover that. So it's an evolving process, and we're all human, and we learn things and make changes every day. So you might want to try out Sticker Ninja for stickers. I've been checking out their mission statement, and it looks appealing to me. But yeah, when you're looking at vendors, check on their About Us and see what they're about. And now back to your previously scheduled programming.
Then, of course, you have to have your print newsletter in your collectible merchandise. These are t-shirts that were produced by Octavia Books in New Orleans. They had a summer, kind of a summer campaign. They had these two designs. They used them on t-shirts and their shopping bags and other materials. And it was just a nice kind of summer theme. And of course, all the materials were also branded for their bookstore, either on the back of the t-shirt or you can see here on the side of the bag. And then be creative. So these matchbooks are created by Out of Print. And I, of course, as Matchbook Marketing, I was really drawn to them. They have themes. You can, the classics or different themes that you can pick of those collections of books. You pull the little match boxes out of the larger boxes, and they look like the books that you're collecting. So I loved that so much that I decided to go and do that for myself. So I made these business cards out of match boxes, totally inspired by what Out of Print did. I went to my grocery store. I bought 200 match boxes for practically nothing, like $15 or something. I don't know. It was crazy cheap. And then I went to my local print shop and I printed the covers on sticky labels. That was it. There was nothing fancy to this. And then my daughter and I sat down. We cut them all out and then stuck them on by hand onto these matched boxes. And they are so, and this is my business card, right? So the back of these have my contact information and a little list of services that we provide. And they have become hot ticket items, so much more popular than the business cards I used to use. So it's a cheap, creative way to tie in your particular brand in with some merchandise that might kind of bring a smile and make people remember you. Okay, so you might not think of audio when you think of marketing. This is becoming so much more accessible for people. This is me in my short hair days. And my son, and we happen to have a studio, which was lovely because he was a musician. But you don't have to have a studio to do a podcast. And if you want to do that, there are really great ways to do podcasts. I always recommend if you're going to do one, maybe if you're going to do a book review, maybe have a conversation with somebody else so that you're talking about the exciting books that are coming out. Have this on a regular basis. Of course, again, you want to have regular content that people are looking forward to. You can make it creative as well. If you're into that, that's awesome. That's how Welcome to Night Vale started, was to support a bookstore. But do think in terms of series. Also, if you don't want to do the podcast yourself, you don't want to think about the recording and the uploading and all of that, then don't forget your public radio station. Again, just like your newspaper, that was the idea of like maybe having a regular column for your newspaper. Perhaps your public radio station might enjoy having you on Monday afternoon at 3 with our indie bookstore owner, to talk about the new books that are coming out this week. So think about that. Providing that community service is also a piece of your marketing plan, or it could be. And then lastly, I got to put up there the theme music, because Matchbook Marketing does also provide theme music if you decide to get into this kind of thing. I am lucky to have a Berkeley trained musician in the family who writes amazing music, and we can talk about that if that's something that you want to explore. He's quite the composer, and it's just a fun extra offering. So please stay in touch. Thank you so much for joining me today in this video. And if you have questions or just want to discuss ideas, I always love hearing from you. And I do hope that you'll reach out and say hello. And good luck with this endeavor. I hope to hear from you soon.